Hi guys, this week we're going to be focusing on dividing fractions. So we've kind of gone over multiplying fractions, and actually I feel like multiplying and dividing fractions are a tiny bit easier than adding and subtracting because you don't have to worry about making the denominators the same. You can multiply the tops and the bottoms, but you just have to know how to do it, and you still always have to simplify. So that's kind of the main part. So this week there are 2 Google slides where you will practice division of fractions, and I think you'll be able to figure them out just fine. But before that one, we are going to do a few practice problems out of our workbook. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you do a ton, but we're going to do, it's going to be, it's on page 765. The lesson title is Lesson 10, Divide Whole Numbers by Unit Fractions. So first things first, remember that when we are multiplying fractions, if you have 3/5 and you are timesing it by 1/2, that's easy. You don't have to worry about the denominators. You just multiply the numerators. 3 times 1 is 3. And then you multiply the denominators. 5 times 2 is 10. Seems easy, right? And this one I don't have to simplify because it's already simplified. I know that because 3 is a prime number and it doesn't go into 10. If it was 2, 2 is also a prime number, but 2 can be divided into 10. 2 would be your greatest common factor. But this guy, he's simplified. Okay. Now 2 other little tricks, and we're going to do a review this week before we take the Chapter 10 test. After this chapter, guys, after we take the Unit 10 test, we only have geometry left, and then we're done with math for the year. So I want you to focus really hard on this so that you understand it so we can take the test by Friday, and I think you'll be ready. The other things to remember when you're multiplying fractions, if you have something that looks like this, 3, it's a whole number, times 2/3, what do? Okay, well, remember how every whole number is the same as if you put it over 1. So 3 is the same as 3/1. It's kind of like that that rule with decimals where every whole number has an invisible decimal at the end. Every whole number has an invisible 1 underneath it as a denominator. Once you have a denominator there of 1, now you can multiply the numerators and get 6, and then multiply the denominators and get 3. Now remember though, if you end up with 1 times 3 is 3, if you end up with a guy like this, is that a proper fraction or an improper fraction? Improper fractions, that can't be your answer because it always has to be a simplified fraction and it has to be a proper fraction. So when you have a number bigger on top, we're going to divide 3 into 6 to figure out what the answer will be. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Now, when we start dividing of fractions, this is the part that I need you to pay attention to. You know how division and multiplication can be in fact families, just like addition and subtraction can. What that means is 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6, but we can flip-flop that and say 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now this is important when we're learning how to divide fractions because you have to remember that we can always check a division problem by turning it into a multiplication problem to check that we got the right answer. And that is what we're going to do in Lesson 10, page 765. Okay, here I'm going to show you the mathematical way to divide fractions, and then we're going to do it with a tape diagram because later in the week the 2 Google slides that you will do will be using fractions and tape diagrams. And sometimes for visual people, tape diagrams and circular diagrams are better to figure out how to divide fractions than just seeing the numbers. I'm one of those people. I like it better when I can see, okay, this is a circle, it's a pie, it's divided into 6. Now, I like that better. But as a refresher, we just saw how to do multiplication of fractions. Now with division, remember how I said division, you can always check it by doing a multiplication problem with your answer. Well, it's the same. So let's say you have 3 over 4, and your second number, there's your division sign, your second number is 4. Okay, well, first things first, we can't have if we have a whole number and we're dividing it by a fraction, we need to make this a fraction. So remember how I said whole numbers, it's like there's an invisible 1 on the bottom. So we're going to make 4 into 4 over 1. Now we have 2 fractions. Now here's the key. This is a little rhyme you need to remember. When you're dividing fractions, you must do keep. That means keep 3/4 the same. The first number you're keeping. The second number, I'm going to put a C here for change. We're going to change your division symbol into a multiplication symbol. And the next is flip. Keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. Now flip, all that means is you're finding the reciprocal. You're going to flip-flop your fraction. So 4 over 1, if we flipped it, that means 1 would be on the top and 4 would be on the bottom. All we're doing is we're doing that thing where to do a division problem, you can also solve it by flip-flopping it, reversing it, and doing a multiplication problem. That's what we're doing here. So now we flip-flop it, we can multiply it instead of dividing. So let's do the tops. 3 times 1 is 3, and the bottoms, 4 times 4 is 16. And then if you can simplify it, can we simplify 3 over 16? 3 is a prime number. Does it go into 16 though? It doesn't. So this would be a simplified answer. Okay. Now to start, we're gonna do a couple together on page. We're gonna start 765 so you can see what I mean by a tape diagram. So this is the page we're on here. Now read along if you can. Pause it and go get your book. It says you can divide a whole number by a unit fraction using models. A unit fraction, that's a vocabulary word, a unit fraction is a fraction with a numerator of 1. So if you see 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, that is a unit fraction because the numerator is 1. So the example is a sports website has score updates every 1/4 of an hour or 1/4 hour. Sometimes we say quarters, right? How many times does the website have score updates in a 3-hour period? Now this is how you do it with a tape diagram. First of all, you find a model where you write in 3 holes because we're looking for a 3-hour period. We're finding 3 divided by 1/4. So we make 3 holes. So on a tape diagram, you would just make it look like a tape measure and with 3 equal parts. Okay, now we're going to divide each of the 3 rectangles, the 3 holes, into fourths. Because 1 over 4, 1/4 means the same thing as 1 part out of 4. If you have 4 equal parts, we're doing 1 part. So we want to make these 3 into fourths. I have a pen because that's going to make it a little bit easier. Let me show you what that means. That means each of these holes, there's 3 holes, we're dividing into 4s. So I'll do it as equally as I can. It's not that equal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to do the next one. Now that one's divided into 1, 2, 3, 4. And now the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now each of those holes are divided into fourths. And now on the bottom, count the number of fourths. There are, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 fourths in the model. 3 divided by 1/4 is 12. So the website has 12 score updates. Now, if we were to do that without doing a tape model, if we were to actually do that and do the math, here was the problem they gave us. 3 divided by 1/4. Okay, this is the same thing that we just did. We're going to keep, change, flip. Okay, so this one we're keeping, but we can't have a whole number. We need to use that invisible 1 that's under the 3. So 3 becomes 3 over 1. We're going to change the division to multiplication, and then we need to flip 1/4. If we flip it, that makes the 4 on top and the 1 on bottom. So now we have 3 times 4 is 12, and on the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. 12 over 1, that's the same thing as 12. That's a whole number. And that's what we got in the tape diagram when we had 3 holes and we cut it into fourths. We were dividing by fourths. Now, if that makes sense to you, once you do the practice on the next pages, it will make a little bit more sense. And when you do the Google slides, it will make even more sense. So do the pages today. I won't have you do a ton. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, do the Google slides. They will not take you very long. Thursday, we'll do maybe a little review so that we can take our multiplication and division test, okay? So I would like you to do, we did 765 together. I would like you to do example 2 on page 766. And then I would like you to just do the odd numbers on 766 and 767. So you've got 1, 3, 5, and 7. That's only 4 to do. So do that. You need to either submit it in Google Classroom or take pictures and have mom or dad send it to me so I know you did it. And if you do that, you will understand division of fractions pretty well by the end of the week. Okay, I'll talk to you later, guys. We'll do a review later, and if you have questions, let me know or have mom or dad email or text me, okay? Thanks, bye.